the endocrine system and like endocrine disruptors and the environment and stuff, people are, filling their bodies with junk. And that's where like infertility is a huge problem nowadays, right? And I don't think it's all necessarily from the environment. Some of it's environmental. Some of it I think is our food. Some of it, because we have food in the US, people don't realize, and you're in Costa Rica right now.
Import in Costa Rica to avoid the food in America.
Yes, and that's what people don't understand. Our food in America, we'll have, not saying M&M's is a healthy food by any means ever, but we'll have like a version here, and then we ship out a different version to Europe without the food dyes, without the GMOs, and people just don't realize those things, especially, I think it's like I look at it as like a toxic bucket, right? Like we all have a different size bucket, and once we fill up that toxic bucket, you're gonna have symptoms and it's gonna start overflowing. So some people have a little one, right? They might have an autoimmune or something where they're very sensitive. Some people might have a bigger one. It doesn't mean that like you're healthy just because you don't have symptoms, right?
Right. Yeah.
And pesticides. So all of those things are important, and fluoride and aluminum, it's very like controversial, but those are things that I encourage people to look into. And like, do you want that or do you not want that? Right. And the endocrine disruptors, there's easy ways.
I feel like, first of all, like we were talking a little bit early, toxic in, toxic out. So like we know we're going to get a little toxic in.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm always recommending heat with fascia blasting, particularly if you can stay in the sauna, because so many of the toxins don't ever have to become cellular if you can sweat and blast them out and then shower afterwards and like don't reabsorb them. But I mean, I read a book a long time ago. You probably know it. It's called Never Be Sick Again. It's like 20 years old. And this is how they break it down. It's like, this is what you get from just being around your appliances. Like, I don't use a microwave. Like, I'm still the weird person. And then the devices have come out to combat that, like, a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, which I have, and cold tub, which I have, and a sauna, which I have, because I do feel like we have to, like you said, the toxin buckets. And I will tell you this from my own experience, the older you get, the more sensitive you get. We're just,
I can attest to that too. I feel that. And it's not about being perfect all the time. You also want to live, right? Like, it's one thing if you have a condition or an autoimmune or a disease or something where you're like, every single thing is sensitive. Like, I try to avoid gluten. I don't have an autoimmune. But I know it's not really great for anyone. But then sometimes if I go somewhere, I will have it. It's way better in Europe, I believe. But
I was about to say, I eat gluten like crazy when I'm in Europe.
Right? Because people can't. People with celiac can eat it there, So I just think it's like, it doesn't have to be all or nothing always. It could be like, okay, what are some big things I can do or little things I can do to make a big impact? Stop using the nonstick stuff. Use non-toxic cleaning products like you mentioned. Cleaning products, when people clean their house once a week with standard products, it's like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day.
Right.
Yeah, they've done, it was like a 20-year study. It was crazy. Just that's like the Windex.
And just also having your electronics on. I could not believe the data that's coming out now is shocking. Like I just read a study. It was basically saying that if you are a smoker, which we all kind of say, oh God, that's like really scary, right? To be a smoker. But I think it was comparing, and they were saying that if you were a smoker, but you didn't have a bunch of electronics in your house and you turned your cell phone off at night and stuff like that, little stuff that it's not going to affect us. It's not hard. It's not like go run a marathon. That they had a better life expectancy or whatever the markers were for it than somebody who didn't smoke but had all of the emissions and magnetic resonance.
I believe that. I mean, I think there's a lot.
I've been holding my cell phone all the other time.
I know, as I'm on a Wi-Fi, but I do believe that is going to come back to us and not be what people think. There's often a sacrifice with certain things.